Hi, everybody. We're excited to have Christine leading today's Healthspan Masterclass on anti-inflammatory nutrition. Chronic inflammation affects everything from energy to long-term disease risk, and what you eat can make a powerful difference. Christine will walk us through simple, effective ways to reduce inflammation and support your body through food.
Hi, everyone. We are filming on anti-inflammatory nutrition, take 2 today. And so just wanting to talk through the key points of what causes inflammation, why it's a problem, and what we can do about it. So as we all know, inflammation is a necessary healing response for our body. When we have a cut or we have a major surgery or even a minor surgery, our body sends out inflammatory cytokines in order to help us heal on an acute level. But when low-grade chronic inflammation is always present, like Sophia said in the intro, it does lead to everything from energy imbalances to chronic illnesses. So why does anti-inflammatory nutrition and lifestyle, we'll also talk about, why do those things matter? Well, they're linked to various diseases, including heart disease, cancer, neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, autoimmune conditions, and also gut health issues. All of those things are greatly impacted and exacerbated by extra inflammation in our body. So we need to be able to reduce that inflammation through nutrition and lifestyle so that we can improve our overall well-being and increase our chances of living longer, healthier lives. So the main drivers of that inflammation from a dietary standpoint include, let's start with isolating the excess sugar and artificial sweeteners. Excess sugar is responsible for, most of you have heard me talk about the blood sugar roller coaster, those spikes and drops. So when we have a lot of added sugar and refined carbohydrates, our blood glucose spikes up and our insulin hormone comes in to metabolize it and it goes straight down. So if we're having a diet that's causing those spikes, if we're having a diet high in refined carbohydrates, that's pasta, bread, cookies, crackers, pastries, rice, those things are spiking our blood sugar up significantly and then dropping it back down. Of course, added sugars, we all know candies, cookies, ice cream, things like that, those do the same thing. So we always want to be having protein, fat, and fiber with every meal in order to mitigate those spikes. So reducing and avoiding a lot of added sugar and refined carbohydrates can really help calm that inner fire, that inflammation. Industrial seed oils like canola, corn, and soybean are highly processed. Soy and corn are also 93% of them are genetically modified in this country, so we're getting genetic modification. And those highly processed oils contain chemicals as they're processed, and they are also oxidized fats. So those two things also can cause a lot of excess inflammation inside of our bodies. One thing about canola, corn, soy, and other industrial seed oils also is that what we're really looking for is, at Healthspan, we test your omega-3 fatty acids. We want the ratio of omega-3s and omega-6s to be in balance. So processed oils are very high in omega-6s, which can drive that ratio in the wrong direction and cause more inflammation. We always want to be working towards more omega-3s. So we'll talk about what the sources of those are in a minute. So to go back to the top, the processed and refined foods, everything we have that's in a package, everything that we have that's got a label is really usually full of added sugar, like we talked about in my Sugar Masterclass, and those processed industrial seed oils. So you can see where having that combination is just a little bit of an inflammatory chronic fire inside that's causing that inflammation and chronic disease. So gluten and dairy for sensitive individuals can be really impactful on inflammation as well. When we are sensitive to gluten or dairy, it will drive a cytokine pro-inflammatory storm inside our body. Not everybody is sensitive to gluten. However, if you have celiac disease, of course, you need to avoid gluten very strictly. But there's also non-celiac gluten sensitivity. So if you have that and you know that you're sensitive to gluten, if you're having skin irritation, this can be with dairy as well, skin irritations, bloating, any digestive issues, the list of symptoms is exhaustive. Everything from migraines, constipation, you name it. If you're feeling those symptoms after you have gluten and or dairy, you really do need to take care of your gut health, because those kinds of sensitivities really drive inflammation. One of the ways that we can tell if they're driving some inflammation is if you have acid reflux, it's likely due to a sensitivity, because a food sensitivity will open that lower esophageal sphincter in your throat. And when that esophageal sphincter is able to be open, then your stomach acid will push up through that sphincter into your throat and cause the burning. So your stomach has everything it needs to buffer stomach acid, but when that stomach acid can splash up into your esophagus, that's when it's causing us pain. So oftentimes when clients come to me and they have acid reflux or GERD, we start looking for the food sensitivity that might be impacting them. So that's one way that inflammation can really come in acutely and cause immediate problems. So we want to be really careful. I've been telling all of my clients who think they might have a dairy or gluten sensitivity, you know, it's, can I go gluten light? Can I have a little bit of ice cream here and there? It's really not hyperbole to say that is causing gut damage, and that they should be carefully avoided to optimize your health and longevity. The other thing with dairy, so dairy intolerances, it could be the lactose, the sugar, the milk sugars that you're sensitive to and don't have the enzyme for, or in some cases it's also the casein, which is actually the protein in the milk that's impacting inflammation. So sort of two different mechanisms, and sometimes people will say, well, I can tolerate yogurt a little bit, and that's probably because the good bacteria in the yogurt that's fermented is helping to pre-digest the lactose, so that might not bother you as much. In those situations, sometimes people can get away with hard cheeses, yogurts, cottage cheese, but not milk, not soft cheeses like mozzarella. So some different things to look out for there, and certainly please have a conversation with me or Jen, if she's your practitioner, about how to kind of handle that and navigate that if that's an issue for you. Alcohol, excessive or not excessive, is a toxin. So when we put it in our body, it's going to disrupt our gut health. It's going to be deleterious to our sleep, and sleep is really important for lowering inflammation because it reduces stress and reduces our hormone cortisol. So there are several different pathways by which alcohol is causing inflammation, just like I said, by nature of being a toxin, and also by disrupting sleep and those metabolic pathways that are improved by lowering cortisol. It also stresses the liver and just raises those inflammatory cytokine pro-inflammatory messengers. Chronic stress, like high cortisol, like I said, will definitely drive inflammation and cause immune confusion. So we just aren't having optimal health when we have chronic stress. Our bodies will do a lot of things when we have chronic stress, and that inflammation is thriving within us, and it will really cause a lot of disruption with all of our metabolic processes. So it, it infects the brain, the gut, the heart, the immune function. Everything is implicated when we have high stress. Poor sleep means that we are skipping that repair cycle. Again, we're not metabolizing cortisol if we're not sleeping. So we raise cortisol and we raise pro-inflammatory cytokines when we're not sleeping. Even one bad night of sleep, they've done studies that it will increase inflammation. So if sleep is something you're dealing with and you haven't already reached out to our team about how to help, we have an amazing practitioner, Ashley Mason, who has put together a program and generously shared it with Healthspan. So we have some of our clinicians trained in that program, and if sleep is something that you're struggling with, please do reach out. We would love to help. So in terms of the last lifestyle piece, just having a sedentary lifestyle, not moving optimally, does lead to poor circulation, increase of visceral and belly fat, worse insulin responses, and stress cortisol responses, all of which will raise that inflammation and really keep that fire burning inside. So we need to move, we need to sleep, we need to manage our stress. That's the bottom line there. So we can skip the foods to avoid, so we sort of already covered that. Let's get to the solution. The solutions are fresh, organic. Again, we want to be eating organic so that we're avoiding those toxins in our food that will also cause an inflammatory response. Eating nutrient-rich fruits and vegetables, leafy greens and berries especially, are really high in antioxidants, so they're in there cleaning up the system and lowering inflammation, a really great anti-inflammatory response. Wild-caught fish, the smash fish, salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardines, and herring. Those are the little fish with big contents of omega-3 fatty acids. So omega-3s are also found in grass-fed meat, because we are not just what we eat, we are what we ate. So if our cows are eating a natural grass diet, they are producing more omega-3 fatty acids than they are if they're raised conventionally on a feedlot. So that is really important. The quality of your meat is important. The quality of your vegetables is important. You can tell how much omega-3 content is in your eggs by looking at the color of the yolk. Again, back to the natural diet of a chicken. If a chicken is eating grubs and grazing and eating grass and out on the farm, and not just being fed corn, which is not their natural diet, they will actually produce more omega-3 fats in their yolks. So look for a deeper, richer color in your yolks. I love Vital Farm eggs from City Market. If you have access to farm fresh eggs, even better. So those are great ways to get those omega-3s. Healthy fats found in avocado, olive oil, coconut oil, nuts, and seeds. Those are great ways to reduce inflammation. Again, avoiding the oxidative state and the chemical processing of those canola, soy, and corn oil products. Fermented foods like kimchi, sauerkraut, kefir, apple cider vinegar. I would add miso, cottage cheese. Those kinds of things are really improving our gut health. So when our gut is healthy, it's making anti-inflammatory compounds and pushing out the pro-inflammatory compounds. So we really want to keep our second brain, which is our gut, very healthy so that it can make all of our serotonin and all of our immune cells work properly. Herbs and spices. Turmeric is naturally anti-inflammatory. Ginger is amazing for gut health. Garlic also has alum and is great for gut health. And cinnamon is awesome for blood sugar balance. So pour some cinnamon, certainly on your oatmeal. I love to pour it on my nuts just for an extra little bit of evening out my blood sugar so that we don't have those spikes and drops that can cause more inflammation. And bone broth contains a lot of glycine, which is really nourishing for the gut. So don't be afraid to throw a nice bone broth into soups and stews. I'm even given to drinking it once in a while, have a little cup of it with lunch, just really making sure that we're coating and soothing and nourishing that gut lining so that we can lower inflammation. So what does a day of anti-inflammatory eating look like? It looks a lot like what a day of blood sugar balance looks like, right? So we could start with those egg muffins loaded with some veggies, eggs for the omega-3s, we've got veggies for the fiber, and avocado for the healthy fat. So a large salad would give us the fiber. Olive oil is our healthy fat. Nuts and seeds, a little bit of protein and a little bit of extra fat. Just really, again, keeping our blood sugar even, keeping the inflammation down, raising the omega-3s. Dinner, we hit it hard with wild-caught salmon, just an amazing source. I think everybody knows by now that that's a really wonderful source of omega-3 fatty acids, and getting lots of color on the plate with the asparagus. And the cauliflower is also great for fiber, so balance the blood sugar, lower the inflammation. Chia pudding can be a really fun little bit of a sweet treat after dinner if you're looking for something sweet, and those chia seeds have lots of fiber and omega-3 fats in them. Hummus and veggies, mixed nuts, guacamole, those are great for snacks between meals if you need a little extra something that's going to keep the flames down. Staying hydrated is really important. So I always recommend at least 64 ounces of water per day. If you're larger, you can use the half your body weight in ounces rule. So that could really toggle that number up quite a bit depending on your weight. And I also like to say that your workout water doesn't count. That needs to be the extra little bit on top. So really pushing that hydration, keeping everything running in the system, running clean, and avoiding inflammation that way. Again, moving regularly helps us, really get the circulation flowing, getting cytokines moving through the system, and really reducing inflammation. So could be walking, could be yoga, strength training. We know from past talks that doing a little exercise snacks after your meals helps to bring your blood sugar back down into the safe range. So there you would be avoiding inflammation through that mechanism by just balancing your blood sugar. Reducing stress, finding a mindfulness practice, meditation, deep breathing. With your Oura Ring, you can probably look at your app and find out when you are having more stressful moments, and Oura does a really nice job of offering some meditations or even just some deep breathing to bring that down. So you can shut your office door and take a few minutes and just try to bring that down so that you can really feel calm and keep the inflammation down. Getting quality sleep, again, back to Oura, we all know how we're sleeping now. So really aiming for 7 to 9, focusing on good sleep hygiene, turning off screens a couple hours before bed, maintaining 3 hours before dinner and bedtime, which is sort of what my last slide is about. Talks about the 12 hours between dinner and breakfast, but I would also add that I really want 3 hours between dinner and bedtime so that you go to bed not digesting food for half the night, but your body's able to work on reducing stress, metabolizing fat, working on immunity, working on brain health. All of those things need to be taken care of while we're sleeping. So getting that quality sleep is important. And last but not least is really just taking back your kitchen. If we prepared most of our food in our homes, we would know what was in it all the time. Unfortunately, even the best of restaurants are using oils that are oxidized, can be rancid when they're purchased already, aren't stored properly, don't tolerate heat well. So we aren't always putting the very best into our body when we are eating out. So of course that's, something that we all do from time to time, but really focusing on bringing whole foods into our homes, cooking with them, knowing the ingredients, and that can really help us reduce inflammation in a big way. So again, just taking control of our health, increasing our longevity by reducing our inflammation is super powerful. And we can get better mental clarity, live longer, and feel young and fresh for a really long time. So start making some of those changes with your diet and lifestyle right away. Thanks, you guys, for listening and tuning in again to this re-recording, and have a wonderful day.